Hey guys, so today we have some more wedding drama. This is more unhinged wedding stuff because weddings, as much as they're all about love and commitment and the life bond that you have with another person, they're also about drama and a lot of it. This one's different though. Like, we've had different wedding dramas, but this one is a little bit different. Today's video is actually very kindly sponsored by NordVPN, who have been my VPN of choice for years now because they are the fastest, the easiest, and they have the best deals going, and that's if you use my discount. When you use my link in description, you'll get a huge discount on a 2-year plan with 4 additional months completely free. That's nordvpn.com/Angelika Oles. They also have a 30-day money-back guarantee, which you won't have to use, but it's there if you want to. And this is the absolute best deal you're going to get for NordVPN, and you need to get it right now. Now, I use a VPN because it protects you and, you know, all the good stuff that I'll get into in a minute. But also, can we just talk about American Love Island for a minute? So this is, I think, the first year that I've noticed where American and the UK Love Island are basically going on roughly the same time. I think the American one started maybe a week or two earlier, but they're basically going on at the same time, which is giving me 2 hours of content a day rather than just one, and I am living for it. And this actually means that the 50-50 audience I have basically can both benefit from the NordVPN. If you're living in America, this UK Love Island season is incredible. I love the drama. Please just get your NordVPN subscription purely so you can jump over to the UK and watch our Love Island along with yours. Now, if you're in the UK, which is the other half of my audience basically, I recommend you get yourself over to Canada on NordVPN, and then you can watch it completely for free, just 1 day delayed. That's what I've been doing. Okay, so both of my audiences, which are pretty much a 50-50 split, let's enjoy each other's Love Islands because it's incredible. And if you want to do that, click the link in description and get a huge discount on a 2-year plan with 4 additional months completely free at nordvpn.com/Angelika Oles. That's my recommendation. But now let's actually get into the serious stuff. There are some actual super serious benefits of using NordVPN, one of them being threat protection, which protects from malicious sites, downloads, malware, and it's actually always on even if you're not connecting to a different country, which just makes it that much easier. You can use NordVPN to block malware and annoying intrusive ads, and that's if you turn on CyberSec, which is their function for that. It would just help you to avoid malware hosting websites, which is a bonus in my opinion. NordVPN also has a strict no logs policy because your privacy is the most important to them. They have 24/7 customer service support, so if anything is confusing, you can have that sorted out ASAP. And one account lets you connect up to 10 different devices. I have it on my laptop, on my iPad, on my phone. And then I've got 7 more to go, which is such an incredible deal when you're already getting a huge discount on a 2-year plan using my link in the description. So your whole family can enjoy, and your whole family should be enjoying Love Island, both the US and the UK. Anyway, thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back into the tea. So we have 2 Instagram accounts exposing the bride. The bride is the Sass Social, but she's gone private on everything, obviously. And the 2 Instagram accounts are Cake and Kale, who's a cake vendor, and Rose Moon Photography, who's obviously a photography vendor for weddings. So they both got scammed by this bride, kind of. Like, you let me know if you think it's a scam, but before we do that, subscribe to the bell icon for engagement. Let's just get into it. So, when you have weddings, you have vendors, you have a cake, you have catering, you have photography, videography, maybe a content creator. You know, there's all sorts of different people that you pay to attend your wedding, okay? But there are also these things called like, I can't remember what it's called. She has like an actual name for it, the woman talking about the situation, right? So it's basically almost like a course that you go on. So a bunch of vendors get invited to this fake wedding where you can practice your vendoring skills for the real day, so you don't mess it up for someone's actual wedding. So you go to this thing and a bunch of cake vendors will come and they can all exchange like tips and tricks. How do you keep the icing from melting on a wedding day, and how do you transport your cakes? And they can all kind of chat and show their wedding cakes, and then there'll be like a fake bride and groom who are doing the first kiss, and they'll just keep on doing it over and over again so the photographers can get the hang of like getting it on the day, because on the day you get one chance. There's one first kiss and you're not going to be like, oh, sorry guys, I didn't catch that, can you do it again? So they'll do these like courses essentially where photographers can then exchange details, or maybe even, oh, I have this personal assistant that I work with, they're local to you, you might want to, you know, like vendors just vendoring together. These vendors were made to believe that this was one of those courses, like these fake weddings that you go to Turns out it was the couple's real wedding. So they faked this wedding showroom essentially, and then all the vendors showed up expecting this to be this fake bride and groom and you know, a more of like a networking event for vendors, but it was a real wedding. And I know what I would do in that situation, because you don't want to be the reason why someone's wedding gets ruined, but at the same time, I'm packing my and I'm leaving, because what do you mean I didn't get paid for this? And I also thought it was something completely different than what it was. This is the Cake and Kale original post about this whole thing. So when you do a cake for a styled shoot, that's what it's called, a styled shoot, only to realize after that it's a real wedding and you just did a wedding cake for free. Also, look at this cake. It's absolutely stunning. Obviously, it's taken so much work, so much time, so many products. Products are so expensive nowadays that it's like, but you still gotta share the cake because she's so pretty and deserves love too. I actually can't believe a bride would do this. So the caption says, you may have already heard my story about how I and many other vendors got duped into doing a wedding for free. It was posed as a styled shoot, but the real loss is that this cake didn't get the love it deserved. So please give this cake some love. Spread this real, help this beauty feel valued even if she was free. In reality, the real loss is the time, energy, passion, attention, and talent that all vendors put into this to only feel deceived and undervalued in the end. Pay your vendors, respect their talent and time, the end. I'd kindly invoice them for the cake, and if they refuse to pay, small claims court, here we come. The agreed upon usage was for styling shoot, not for a wedding. Pay up. Exactly. I mean, I support paying bakers vendors what they're worth, but I also support not saying it's a wedding to avoid unnecessary wedding tax. Yes, but they didn't say, okay, so basically a lot of people are saying people overcharge for weddings. So when you're having a wedding, you should say, oh, this is for a birthday party, this is for a christening, this is for a whatever. Because a cake, a white cake for a birthday party will cost, let's just, 100. And then that same exact cake made of the same ingredients, but for a wedding, will suddenly cost 250. So people are saying, we get scammed purely because it's a wedding. This is not that. The bride didn't say, hey, it's my birthday. Can I buy this cake of you for my birthday? She said, this is a styled shoot, meaning none of the vendors got paid. Because when you go to a styled shoot, you don't get paid. You're going there with your products to network. So you're almost paying for the networking with your products. So that's not what happened, because I understand people get really frustrated, and understandably so, that people get overcharged for wedding stuff that's exactly the same as non-wedding stuff. Like, I know MUAs do this a lot, where like birthday makeup and wedding makeup will use the same products, because you do use the same products, but the wedding makeup will cost 300, but the birthday makeup will cost 75, because people know that you're willing to overspend for a wedding. It's a once in a lifetime event unless you get divorced. Absolutely crazy to me that the same cake for a baby shower is worth 3 times more if you say it's for a wedding. That is unethical. Yes, but this is not that case. This is a case of someone literally being scammed out of products. Obviously, most of you questioning this lovely baker have never been to a styled shoot or part of a real wedding. For weddings, bakers drop off their cakes, set them up, and leave early in the day, before most wedding related things start happening. For a styled shoot, it would have been agreed upon in advance to use a real cake for cake cutting, photos, and content, and yes, those involved usually provide their goods services for free, or at most at cost, because it's a marketing situation. So please believe the professional here as she tells you what happened and that she was taken advantage of. She is not remotely to blame. A styling person said, wait, please, I need more details. Who said it was a styled shoot? At what point did vendors realize it was an actual wedding? This is wild and not okay. Cake looks gorgeous though. And someone said it was definitely wrong of them to deceive you to get a free cake. However, pricing drastically changes when you mention it's for a wedding. So I get where they were going with it, but it should not have been a free cake. Yeah, no, that's when you say, hey, this is for a birthday party, and then you use it for a wedding. Like, that wouldn't be a scam, in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't be upset if a bride said, oh, I said it was for a baby shower, and it was actually for my wedding, and I saved 300 quid. I actually wouldn't be upset at that at all. But to say it's for a styled shoot and then get all the services for free, that's when I think you're scamming. So anyway, she then responds to her post going viral. I went viral and I'm not sure I liked it. Last week I shared a reel about an experience of a styled shoot that was really a wedding, and it went viral. It's at 2.4 million views, 1,300 comments, and still climbing. There are lots of positives that come with going viral. I've gotten over 1,000 new followers. Hi, thanks for being here. Lots of people in the comments of the reel complimenting my work, validating the experience, and people sharing my work. But there are also some negatives that came along. Trolls came out in full force on the reel. The worst things I could say about myself as a baker became the words that stranger said to me. Good thing you didn't put a lot of effort into the cake. That's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. You just made this up for clout. This definitely didn't happen. Good for them for stealing from you. You price gouge your customers, especially for weddings. A real baker would use a fake cake. This is your fault. I know these comments don't mean anything. They're coming from keyboard warriors who have nothing better to do than spew negativity, but my nervous system doesn't know that. My nervous system thinks it's under attack and therefore has lived in defense mode for the better part of 2 weeks, and it's exhausting. I've stopped looking in the comments, spent days off the app and tried to ignore it all, but it's still exhausting, overstimulating, overwhelming, on top of an already busy, already overwhelming in good ways and bad life. And it's not why I like Instagram. I love this app for the community I've built here, the people I've met, the customers who keep my business running, the fellow business owners I've become friends with, and the deep connections I've made with so many of you. The positivity on this app far outweighs the negativity that came from a few bad apples. So screw going viral, I'd much rather hang with all of you. Which I think is really sweet. She just seems like a sweet person. Like, I don't think she's a bad person. Do you know what I mean? Like, people making it out like she's like doing this for clout and like she orchestrated this. Like, this seems like a really sweet baker who just literally got scammed. Then we have the Rose Moon photography person coming out with a 3-part actual like video format explanation of what happened. And I think that's iconic. Let's watch.
Little story about a content day that I went to that ended up being an actual wedding. I showed up and I did what I normally do. I put my whole heart into it. As soon as I got there, something felt a little off. The organizer of the content day was in bridal attire. And I thought to myself, is she getting married? I then let the day happen because I'm not going to just make a fit. It's someone's wedding day. I can't. That's just not my style. So I kept shooting and I thought, you know what, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Maybe something just wasn't communicated. Then the vows and the walk down the aisle and the legal signing of the marriage documents, and everything else started happening. This wasn't a content day, this was a wedding. And I just realized that I shot a wedding for free. I was told that this was a free content day. It was like invite only, yada, yada, yada. The venue that I shot at, stunning. I always wanted to shoot there, so I hopped right on it. But I also didn't take on work for those days, turned down a wedding and a maternity shoot so that I could do this content day. I've told the organizer that I am not providing the photos without compensation, and I also still feel that I should be compensated for my time and my travel, and I have been told that I will not be compensated for anything except for my travel, which is peanuts. I'm telling this story because, one, photographers, protect your time. Don't let people steal your time. Your work is valuable, you're valuable, your time is valuable. You deserve to be compensated. Styled shoots require clarity and for all the information to be provided. Not for some surprise, oh, I organized it, and oh yeah, I'm also actually getting married today. This is an actual elopement. Weddings, which this was, require compensation, period. Let me tell you a little story about a content day.
I completely agree with this person, and I agree with holding the photos hostage, and you should be paid for travel, your time spent there, because it's not just the product. Like with the cake, you're paying for the cake, and I understand that within the pricing there's the time it takes to make the cake, but with photography you're there the whole day, so you're being paid for being there. Like with the cake drop off for a wedding, you drop the cake off, you say how to cut it, and then you leave. With photography you're there the whole day, so you're actually being paid for like almost a shift at work, right? And then you're being paid for editing the photos afterwards, sending them to the bride, blah, blah. You paid for like a package. Also, she didn't get paid for this. And then if she had known that this was a real wedding that she wasn't going to get paid for, she would have just taken the other jobs, like the maternity shoot and the blah, blah. So she's missing out on other paid jobs to do this unpaid job. I get why you would hold the money hostage. Now, we knew who this person was, the bride, because of this caption. So she says, update part 2 and 3 posted. POV, you show up for a styled shoot and realize it's actually someone's wedding. I try to be kind, but this just isn't okay. At the Sass and Social, so that's the bride. But obviously the bride has gone private last time I checked. I don't know if it's still... Yeah, 0 posts, 57 followers, the Sass and Social, virtual assistant, coordinator, and planner. Okay, so what people think is that this person, this bride, faked being like a planner of events. So she wasn't booking these people as the bride, she was booking these people as like this person doing this networking event, which is even weirder. So yeah, Ainsley Page is the person that is doing this. You roped a bunch of people in to give you an almost entirely free wedding. I've given you the chance to make things right and you haven't. I'm not one to do something like this, but unfortunately I and many others were robbed of their time and skills, and I'm not putting up with this anymore. Respect wedding industry professionals for their time and skills. Feel free to share this with other wedding vendors. P.S. Everyone else who took part were amazing and they did not know this was going on. So a bunch of vendors, I wonder if anyone else spoke out, we just don't know, because like it might have not hit our like For You pages, our Explore pages. And then someone says, I hope you and all the vendors sue. Everyone should send for their invoice for the work they did, demand payment, and then sue. Yeah. Well, considering you shot that person's wedding, I'd send them the package description that you completed and offer an invoice if they'd like to book their wedding photographer after the fact. Also, as many have said, the audacity of this whole thing is crazy. I can't get over how she apparently works in the industry as well. How is she expecting this to go after? No one is going to want to work with her again. So a lot of people think she's either actually a wedding planner herself, but I thought it was more like she's a bride and then created this fake Instagram page. That's why it's only got like 50 followers. She created this weird like fake wedding page to pretend to be a planner on behalf of herself, and then book these people through that. That's what I thought, but you know, regardless. Then we have part 2.
About a styled shoot that turned into a wedding that turned into a cease and desist. Hi, my name is Becca Melko, and I am a photographer based in Ontario, and I'm about to tell you a story about something that has affected me both personally and professionally. A couple of weeks ago, something was presented to me as a styled shoot. I've seen these styled shoots done in the industry before, and this is something that I wanted to try. I approached the opportunity with the generosity and openness that I bring to every single shoot I have. Styled shoots are staged events, generally weddings, and there's a lot of benefits to photographers. It can be social media exposure, coaching, just practice. What I was most looking forward to was the coaching to hone my craft. It was a free event, so I was like, why not? As a wedding photographer, the bride and the groom expect you to capture unique events. You only get one shot. During styled shoots, you get multiple shots. You get time to do the first kiss multiple times, things like that, so that you know exactly what to do. Except when I arrived at this event, it wasn't a styled shoot at all, it was a wedding. There was a legal marriage license, there were guests expecting a wedding, a couple family members and friends, and nothing was repeated. It was a wedding. I didn't agree to shoot a wedding. I left the event shaken and confused, and it wasn't until the next morning until the weight of what happened hit me, and I realized that I shot a wedding for free. I had turned down paying clients for the experience of a styled shoot, and that's not what I got. I gave my creativity, emotions, and time to something that I never consented to. When I shared my story publicly to warn my community, I was met with a cease and desist letter. It wasn't just a cease and desist letter, it was
I also think the audacity to do all of that and then you try to sue other people when they should be suing you for scamming them out of money. Because if I was that bride, I would literally just like either go ghost, like disappear, I'm not doing anything, like don't bring attention to yourself, or just pay people, right? Be like, oops, sorry, my bad. I tried it. I'm going to pay you guys. To then go on the offensive and start suing people. And I'm assuming these cease and desist letters that she got off like Fiverr for £5. There's no lawyer that would take this on. Allegedly, that's what I think. But to go on the offensive now, is like now you're doubling down on what you did. That's ridiculous. But an apology for what? Because it was a real wedding, not a styled shoot. So an apology for what? That's what I want to know.
7 days. I refused because I did retell facts, and that is not defamatory. Now listen, what's really messed up is as an unrepresentative creative, receiving a cease and desist letter with case law is terrifying. It makes you shit your pants.
Someone said it was a be quiet letter. You're doing a fantastic job holding people accountable. Like, I would just ignore the letter. Like, don't even respond to it. Don't get a lawyer. Like, this is not a real cease and desist. Like, just ignore it completely. And this is another vendor that showed up, which is just another photographer. Because obviously, like I said, for styled shoots, you get multiple photographers. So she just got at least 2 photographers for free. I'm really proud of you for speaking up. What we went through was incredibly disappointing and honestly unacceptable in this industry. It took a lot of courage to share, and I'm grateful we stood through it together, always in your corner. Then we have part 3.
Named a lawyer, and he went over...
Oh, you already retained a lawyer. That was a waste of money, because this cease and desist letter that you got is absolute garbage. But I can see how, if this is your first like stroke with the law, you're terrified and you feel like your business is in jeopardy. But there was absolutely actually no need. You could have just printed out that letter and used it in the toilet.
The letter, the case law didn't exist. I don't know if this lawyer...
Okay, so the case law included in the cease and desist didn't exist. It also makes me think that maybe the bride just used like ChatGPT, because you can literally just be like, can you create me a cease and desist, blah, blah, blah. And there was actually a lawyer that was using ChatGPT that got, pretty sure it was reprimanded or maybe even couldn't practice law for like a year because they used ChatGPT to like create letters for clients, but some of the case law didn't exist, and a judge caught on and was like, hey, what the is going on? Turns out the lawyer was using ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was getting the case law wrong, and not even wrong, but was like inventing case law that didn't exist. So I'm assuming maybe this bride just used like AI to be like, hey, can you create me a cease and desist letter for like this situation, and like describe the situation, and ChatGPT was like, yeah, Susan v Emily, that's the case law, and it just like doesn't exist. I don't know.
AI, and it fabricated a case law, because I couldn't imagine a lawyer would ever use a false case law to intimidate someone. I have since talked to many other photographers and vendors in my industry trying to see if I've been overreacting, and it's been a unanimous no. I have not shared all the images because the trade was a styled shoot for the photos. I didn't get a styled shoot. No coaching, no repetition, just several photographers shooting a wedding. Shooting a wedding without compensation, may I add. This is a story about boundaries and the cost of what enforcing them does. Some people will try and sneak past them. I am not here to bully or to shame or anything of that. I'm here to stand up for myself. I want to encourage other creators to stand up for themselves too. And I wanted to thank everyone for the support.
Guaranteed it wasn't a lawyer in the first place. I saw on Cake and Kale post someone asking if the point was to get content and you got content, why does it matter? And it just comes down to the lying and being in the industry. And when they asked if you added a wedding tax once you found out that's not what this was, I don't understand people that think they should have a business and be paid but don't expect to give that same respect to other businesses, especially small businesses. Yeah, I mean, this is like a slightly shorter one for me. Usually these wedding dramas are like insane and there's like back and forth, but the bride hasn't spoken out. That's why it's like, it's not become this massive thing. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Subscribe with the bell icon for engagement. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.